Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. I'm one half of your host, Nate Fay. I'm a licensed massage therapist with over 20 years of private practice. I'm also an osteopath as well as a master myoskeletal therapist. And when I'm not in my private practice, I'm on the road presenting for Eric Dalton and the Freedom from Pain Institute.
Hey everyone, I am the other half of your co-host, Ben Stone. I've been a licensed massage therapist for over 20 years. I have a wide range of experience in the massage world, from working as an employee to owning my own massage practice where we employed several massage therapists. I hold the title of Master Myoskeletal Therapist, and I value learning above all else, and that's why I love making this show with Nate. And hey Nate, we have a disclaimer alert.
Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert.
The opinions and views shared on the Nate and Ben Show are our own and do not represent the opinions of any other person or organization that we may be affiliated with, work for, or contract with. The main purpose of this show is for entertainment and education, and if you feel that you are entertained or educated in any way, please let us know.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 11 of Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask on the Internet. How are you doing this week, Ben?
Hey, I'm doing really good. It's cold here. I know it's cold a lot around a lot of the country right now. How are you handling this weather?
Time and temperature check. It's 8:37 and it's 17 degrees.
And we got you beat. We're at 21 degrees.
21 degrees out there in flyover country. And yeah, we had two snow events over the course of the past week. So it's our first couple snowstorms in the last 2 years.
Well, tell me something good that's happened to you out of this whole snowstorm week or two that we've had.
Well, something good. Let's see. I've got 4 classes on the books between March and April. I just found out last night my class in Delaware is officially sold out. So that was good news. That was great to hear.
That's fantastic. Where can people find out more information about your classes?
You can go on ericdalton.com and click on the workshops page. And I'll be in Warwick, Rhode Island in March, which still has openings as we speak right now. Delaware sold out, and then I'll be out in San Francisco, California. And then I'm doing an AMTA event up in New Hampshire in April as well.
I'm just going to let everybody know that these events are going to sell out. So if you are watching or listening to this podcast, get on there and get registered before it's too late.
Love it, buddy. What's the best thing that's happened to you this past week?
Oh man, there's lots of stuff, but same thing, snow. So I've gotten some exercise, clearing out a lot of snow.
And for those of you that are listening to this and are massage therapists, and if you've gotten snow in your region of the country, it's probably the number one thing that we've heard in our practice over the past 2 weeks with clients coming in.
Oh yeah, low backs.
I hate to say it, but these are the type of things that keep us in business. I heard the same story about 45 times in the past week and a half.
Same.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, we've got an episode today where we're kind of talking about myths and how to handle those with our customers and with other massage therapists. But before we get too deep into that, I got a question for you. I always like to ask questions.
Let me hear it.
Where does a myth buster sleep?
Where does a myth buster sleep?
In debunk bed.
I dig it.
Oh, man.
That was a joke grenade. I had a delayed laugh on that one. That was good. So what was the question this week? What was the question that we posed this week on the internet? Here's
the question straight from the internet. What are some myths surrounding massage therapy, and how do you work to dispel these myths? So, I always like to ask you, Nate, what's the reason behind wanting to ask this question? Give me your thoughts.
Well, I was, since you and I have been doing this, and we've opened up a lot of good conversations about how the massage world has evolved. And, certainly I could put myself back into school 20 years ago and think about some of the things that I was told as a massage therapist. For instance, don't push on certain points, or, if somebody's pregnant, that you could, somehow eject the baby, if you will, or, the ever eternal conversation about toxins. It got me thinking, what are some myths that surrounded massage therapy at one time, perhaps in the early part of our career? And what are some myths that are possibly still out there? And when a client brings them to our attention, because clients do come in the door and they might say something to us like, hey, I need you to flush the toxins out of my body. What would we say to that? And that's just one example.
That is interesting. I have never had someone come to me for a toxin flushing massage. But who knows? It could have happened to someone.
Could very well happen, but I bet that you've probably had people say to you something along those lines, right?
Yeah, we get those kind of questions. It's good to know how to deal with them.
There's myths that, and it's not just in our world, by the way. It's, it's in all aspects of the health and wellness industry. Why don't we start by separating what clients perceive, in what they might bring to us, and what massage therapists have either perpetuated or still talk about, or have talked about.
Yeah, and we had a response from someone who brought up what clients usually bring up. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we had a couple responses this week that I liked, and this was a common one, right? No pain, no gain. Hurt. It's got to hurt to work, and that's something that definitely in the early part of my career that I heard, and it's something that I still get once in a while today. You can do your hardest, deepest work. I have no pain tolerance, so it doesn't matter if it hurts or not, and that's going to solve my problem.
We have this term deep tissue massage. I mean, just the name alone, people think, well, yeah, I want if they're offering deep tissue massage, the harder the better. What are your thoughts about that?
Right. So that's a term that's been around for a long time. It's a term that I've used early on in my career. Back in the early days of working on patients, working on clients, I would do just that. I would work on them as hard as possible without any sort of objective or reason why, dig my elbows, dig my knuckles into them, not say a word throughout the session, and hope for an outcome. But, years down the road, fast forward, what a bummer in so many aspects, right? In the client's mind, they're laying there going, well, this really hurts and this person's hurting me. So I better just lay here and not say anything.
And it's got to be beneficial.
Yeah, it's got to be beneficial. Oh my God.
Knowing more about body work in general that we do now, how would you go about maybe dispelling a myth like this when someone comes into your office?
When you build sort of a name for yourself and you have clients that are, word of mouth, that I found that people have this sort of inherent, trust already built into coming to see you. So there's this trust in you as a client or a practitioner, and they're going to trust that, your work and your education is going to help them. So I don't really find this preconceived notion of clients telling me, coming in and saying that I have to do a specific type of massage in their mind. They just want to feel better. And however they think I'm going to do that, they trust that. But I had an experience last week where a woman did come in and she says, I just need a deep tissue massage. And it was a cold call. So there was no relationship there, right? So she was just a cold call. She didn't know anyone that came and saw me. I typically don't take on clients that are cold calls, and that's one of the many reasons why. But I happened to take this person on. She went on and on to say that, she goes to different massage therapists and nobody can hurt her is the way she. And I was honest with her, right? I was honest at this point in my career. And I said, I don't like to be too sciencey and educational at first. I don't want to come off too strong. I mean, my goal is to listen to somebody and hey, those are her needs in the moment. And without getting too off topic, we've talked about this before. It could very well be that, hey, I could do the greatest work ever. In her mind, it didn't hurt. And now she doesn't feel better. After listening to her, and I talked to her a little bit about the work that I do, and I was honest with her. I said, let's work through this together. I always say we're a team, and she had specific issues that she wanted me to address. We started talking through, and I started some techniques on her. At the end of the day, what I said to her in the beginning was, if I'm the therapist for you, great. If by the end of the session, this isn't what you need, no hard feelings, no harm, no foul. I want these people to get the help that they want, whether it's in their head or not, regardless. But as we got into the session and she opened up a little bit more, because, I started working on it, she's like, this feels really good. This feels really effective. And she started to turn around. And I said, I said, if you don't mind me, being a little sciencey or talky about this, and I usually like to ask people's permission on that. And she said, yeah. And I said, that was our old thinking, right? That it had to hurt to work. So then I posed the question back to them and back to this person. If massage had to hurt to work, you would be better and maybe you wouldn't be here. So that's always one of my thoughts. If stuff like that worked, then why are you still seeking out therapy?
That's my litmus test for everything. If it works, why isn't it happening everywhere? Why aren't hospitals using it? Why isn't everybody doing it?
Yeah,
That would just prove that it worked. You wouldn't need a bunch of research to show that it worked. You would just have people getting better.
absolutely. And that crosses over into the exercise and fitness industry as well. So no pain, no gain. And meanwhile, you have a bunch of bodybuilders or wannabe bodybuilders that are can't move for 7 days after the workout.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. That's a classic myth that's probably been around since before you and I were born.
Along those lines, I heard Tom Myers talk about this, and I want to share this. And I want to kind of paraphrase what he said. What he does is he compares depth of the work to sound. And so if you think about sound and turning up the volume as loud as it can go, it gets really loud, but the message gets distorted. And therefore you can't really hear the message, but it's loud. And so
Mm.
what if we were able to dial in that volume to a level where we can hear the message just fine, but we're not, it's loud enough, but it's not distorted.
Yeah, I really like that. I haven't heard that before. And sometimes with that being said, right? I might palpate a client's, like a bone, and I'll say, "Hey, does that hurt?" And they'll say, "No." And I'll say, "That's your bone. That's pretty deep," right? Something like that.
And it doesn't mean that massage can't be intense at some points. We're not to the point where we're beating people up and leaving bruises, and that's not our.
Absolutely. What's another bullet point that we often hear? We got another one. Massage, and I started to bring this up in the beginning. Massage flushes toxins.
Ooh, and this, I feel like this comes more from massage therapists than it does from the client's point of view.
Hmm.
But I have yet to see on someone's website that they offer a toxin flushing treatment.
Right. And what are these scary toxins anyway? Nobody can ever seem to talk about that and give a thorough explanation. So have you ever had a client come in and ask you if you can flush out toxins personally? Have you ever had anyone say that to you?
I've never had anyone say that, but I've had a lot of people regurgitate things that they'd heard from other massage therapists when they're getting ready to leave and we're getting checked out, and they say, "Well, I'll make sure I drink plenty of water to flush out all the toxins." Because they'd
There you
heard it
go.
from someone else before. Well, drinking water is great because I get thirsty after a massage, but I don't know what toxins you're talking about, but okay.
And that's another one too, by the way, that you brought up in line with that. I remember as a massage therapist, I mean, after our session back in the day, I felt like I had to hand a bottle of water to everybody. And one day I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like so weird.
You do this a little bit more than I do, but finding research to back up why and why not this stuff works. I don't memorize all of these, studies, and I don't refer to them very often. So I just want to put the word out to everyone that if we're not being sciencey enough, that's just because we don't have this stuff memorized. But if you want to go out and look for stuff, there's a website called painscience.com. Do you know that website? Yeah.
I love his work.
He does a really good job of showing research why or why not something is good for you.
Great writer, and a huge benefit to not only our industry, but to other industries as well. Here's one more I think that I wanted to bring up tonight, and that school that scared me for the first 12 years of my career, that there was a magical button on the body that could possibly induce labor, eject the baby, if you will. Scary stuff. So the first time a pregnant client walked in, I thought, oh no, I can't. What am I going to do wrong here?
Well, let me tell you, I tested this because my sister was pregnant and she was about, at least 2 weeks overdue. And I said, you know what? I learned this thing and I can help you have that baby. And I
That's right.
touched all the spots that you're not supposed to touch. And you know what? She didn't have the baby. Well, she had the baby 3 days later, but was it because of anything I did? Probably not. The baby's 23 years old now, and she's doing great.
No longer a baby. That's amazing. Yeah, that's an interesting one. There happened to be one year in my practice where I think I had I think it was almost 13 of my regular clients that were I saw them all through their pregnancies. It was like pretty amazing. And to go from point A to point B. And from month whatever we knew, month two, all the way up to month, seven or eight, it was all good, man. And they would ask me though, I can remember this was a few years ago, and they would come in and they would say, hey, my friend told me that I really shouldn't, do this, that it could be unsafe. And, I said, well, you've known me for a long time, and, safety is my number one priority. And my answer was always, if I could do that, I'd probably be working in a hospital making like three times as much money as I am now.
Yeah.
Just pushing that button, man.
The one thing that I am a little bit conservative with is if I have a new person who is pregnant and it is their first child, I'm a little careful about doing anything in the first trimester, not because I'm worried about doing anything, but the
Sure.
chances of a miscarriage are highest in those first trimester, and I don't want to be anywhere close
Right.
to that. I don't want to be blamed,
Yeah.
just because there are those myths out there. And now, oh, I got a massage. It must have been
Must have
from
been
that
that.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Always cover your assets.
Yeah.
That's
I don't want
right.
to be in that conversation.
Definitely. Yep. I always cover my ground no matter what, myth or not. So
Yeah.
good key point there. All right, Ben. So what else do you have for us?
Well, here's one I came up with that I hadn't heard in a while, but what about doing massage toward the heart?
I forgot all about that one. That's an old one. Yeah, I remember hearing that in school. Then I forgot about it, and then I was working on people, and I was like, "Oh man, their heart's probably gonna explode." It's like the Kill Bill episode,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna push the blood the wrong way, and I'm gonna ruin all the check valves inside the veins, and it's gonna be bad.
Never happened.
Never happened.
And I think that's a massage one as well. I don't think I've ever in my almost 20 years, I don't think I've ever had a client come in and question that and ask me about that.
How about this is relatively newer, but how about, and I get a lot of clients that ask for this, they want their fascia stretched.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? So that's kind of back to clients' preconceived notions of what we do or what we don't do. So right, no pain, no gain. Hey, I just need you to work on my fascia.
Because we can isolate that layer of fascia and just work on that, not work on any other soft tissue, not
Anything
any
else?
tendons, muscles, anything like that, just the
Yeah.
fascia.
We're just gonna isolate it. That one I kind of like my no pain, no gain conversation, right? So that one I say, okay, well, so then I like to dive into what did that feel like when you've gotten worked on in the past? And so I'll sort of hear what they're trying to say to me, well, the therapist did that or the other thing. And I'll say, okay. And I'll begin my work. And as I'm getting into it, so I start talking to people a little bit about how it's pretty difficult to just, isolate one layer. I like to throw in that I'm touching you, I'm touching the human being that's on my table, so it's a lot more than that. Starting with the skin and starting with the layers underneath. People always kind of look up at me and have that little bit of a aha moment, but they still want to know, how am I affecting that one whatever? And it could be fascia, right? It could be one singular muscle that their friend told them the name of. What's your experience with that?
There's a lot of approaches to body work and massage where it is cut and dry. It is black and white. I do this test that tells me that this muscle is facilitated or inhibited, and therefore it's shutting down this muscle, and this muscle, all the way up the chain. And all I have to do is manually do this, and this. And it's almost like the person doesn't matter. I'm just going to do the work to the person, and they could be in Jamaica, or their mind could be in Jamaica, and I'm just going to do this work. And guess what? Now you're better. And it just makes me think, what is it that we're doing? And we've talked about this before in some of our episodes, is what is massage doing? And you could tell I get excited and I talk fast when, when I get excited about this stuff, because
Yeah.
I'm passionate about the things I think about every day when I work with people is, what are we really doing? What is massage work really doing? Are we lengthening fascia? Because sometimes some people believe that we're lengthening fascia. Okay, maybe, but I think that would be really hard. We can debate that somewhere else. But, we also feel like we are lengthening or shortening muscles. In the
Right.
same, a muscle is comprised of 30% fascia. It creates the the scaffolding work for muscle to adhere to. So are we really lengthening or shortening muscle? But that's the stories we tell people.
There is a lot of stories, and I want to back up for a minute just what you said, because now you're getting me. I'm already excited, but now I'm getting even more excited. You know, that whole chat about inhibiting and facilitating and all these fancy words and muscle testing. That's not the only sort of modality that does this, but I always step back with when I hear those conversations, and I think to myself, who are you doing this for? Because you sound like you're doing it for yourself, right? And not the client. You know, this
Mhm.
sounds like it's all about you right now. I did this, I did that. It was real quick and simple. And then they were better. And it's like, were they really? You know, and I always ask that question. But man, we're going to get way off topic here. I say this in my seminars, I say this in my intros and my lectures. Whatever we believe, whether trigger points are being obliterated, muscles are being, lengthened or shortened, or fascia is being this, that, or the other thing. I say, at the end of the day, it that stuff doesn't matter. We're trying to bring good news to the human that's on our table.
And here's the other part to that I consider. What if that person on the table needs to hear that? Needs to hear that made up story that I am lengthening your fascia and therefore it's going to put a balance to this and therefore, balance this and all the way up, and they need to hear that in order to get better. I get hung up on that. Talk me off the ledge, Nate.
I get hung up on it too. So these conversations, like my no pain, no gain client, and I'll talk to him about, like, let's do some of this work together. You're here, we're a team. And if I'm the guy for you, great. And if I'm not, let's find you somebody that does the type of work that you're looking for. I want Nate Fay or Ben Stone or whoever you are to we want that to speak for itself. And when they come in the second session or the third session, they're feeling better. And they say to you, hey, I don't know what you did, but it was like something that nobody's ever done with me before. What did you do? And I like to ask for permission about, sometimes, throwing in too much education or almost feeling too over their heads with what you and I like to talk about. So I'll ask, permission to have those conversations. And if they're open to it, that way their eyes aren't glazing over, and help them to see it a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, one thing that people do best, seemingly everybody's an expert in the world of pain and low back pain and manual therapy, right? The general layperson has low back pain. And what's the first thing they do? Ask a friend. They phone a friend or they post it on Facebook. And I'll talk about that. And everybody says, oh man, I iced it, or I did this stretch, or I did this exercise. And it potentially perpetuates those problems. And I always like to say, hey, you sell retirement plans for a living. Why would I jump in and try to have those conversations with you or any of your colleagues? And not in a condescending way, but just in an analogy of, I'm not going to try to be an expert in your field. Let the experts, if you will, be the expert. I don't even feel like an expert, by the way.
I think you're similar to me. We're always learning. And why are we learning? Because for me, I feel like I need more, but I'm the expert at being Ben. You're the
Right.
expert at being Nate, and no one can do that any better than you or I. And so
For
people are
sure.
coming because of what you have. And what you have right now is enough. But when you know better, you're going to do better. Part of what we do is we continually learn and find new ways to approach body work. And you know what we're talking about in 5 years is going to be, I know there's going to be something different. Heck, maybe 2 years, who knows? But the way we talk about things is going to continually evolve. And one thing that I ran across, I want to share with you and get your thoughts on this, is an article. And I don't have the name of the person that wrote it, but I'm just going to read a couple of sentences out of it. And it talks about manual therapy and how it could be considered a form of multidimensional therapeutic touch that is oriented to somatotopically and emotion topically to bring more comprehensive interpretation to the effects of touch in the central nervous system and the entire body. Because you think about it, it's human trait to, when we bump our heads, we rub it.
Right.
And that does something to change that level of pain. It modulates that pain, gets rid of it, does something. There's so many different levels of what we do as touch that I think the physical part, and we've talked about this before, is probably the least important. We're working with thoughts, emotions, feelings, all of those things beyond just physical touch.
And we have to keep putting that stuff out there. Not enough people are talking about it. And I'm still seeing a lot of, we're talking about myths tonight on episode 11. And, every day I open up my Instagram or my Facebook page, I just see a lot of things being perpetuated, not only by our own colleagues, but by other folks out there as well. And, we're massage therapists. And, so we're talking about myths in our field. And I'm not going to dive into it, but I will say I follow other fields, and a lot of my colleagues in the chiropractic field, and the physical therapy field. And I love that, sort of just like you and I and some other people in our field, I love to see that there's a whole new generation of chiropractors coming out and starting to dispel myths that have been perpetuated in the chiropractic field for the past 70, 80, 100 years at this point. And a whole new generation of physical therapists coming out as well, and really having these conversations that the three best exercises to fix your low back pain, that's a myth, or cracking it out of you, and the theory of subluxation is a myth. And I love that those folks in those industries are starting to come out with that education as well.
And it doesn't mean that those things aren't helpful. The education part, it's got to start somewhere. How do you change the world? It starts with yourself. It just starts with us right here. This conversation, letting massage therapists know, hey, it's okay to change the way you thought about things.
Absolutely.
I've been wrong a lot of times, and I'm okay a lot of times. At least once or twice a week, I tell people, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but we're going to work together and see if we can't connect with something that makes it better. And if not, I'm not going to force you to come back. Maybe you need another therapist to work with you.
I don't think there's been an episode that every episode that we've had comes down to one thing. And it's, the techniques are always going to be the techniques. And it's just how we talk about it.
We should maybe think about renaming this show to Techniques Don't Matter with Ben and Nate.
I like it. That might upset some people out there.
It probably would.
No, we won't call it that. Well, this was a fun one tonight, Ben.
Oh man, you can tell when I start talking faster that I'm getting really passionate about things that, and I think about these things a lot. It's not just reading, it's not just talking to you, but I will sit and, just do thought experiments about things.
Yeah, and listen, and I think another thing that we've said in our past several episodes is, like Ben and I are doing, grab a colleague and have these conversations. They're good to have. When you're in your own treatment room, seeing clients and licking pain in between clients, it's good to get out there and catch up with your colleagues.
How about this, Nate? When we reach episode 20, you and I are going to hold a live session where people can come in and have that conversation with us. Ooh. What do you think about that?
You just surprised me. Surprise me alert. Surprise me alert. All right, episode 20. We've got 9 more to get through before the big day.
So look forward to that when we get to episode 20.
I'm going to look forward to that.
Chat live with Ben and Nate.
Chat live. Maybe we can convince some fun people to come in on that one too.
Speaking of fun people, I spent a couple weekends ago with a friend of ours, James Wozlowski.
Hey, James, how are you doing out there in internet land?
Yeah, and you know what? James is a listener and he's a fan of the show. And he sent in his audition tape and he wanted to know how he could be a part of the show. So we're going to air that audition piece right here.
Trying to get on the Ben and Nate show. So this is my audition. I hope I make the cut, man. I hope I make the cut. So the first thing you do is you go under and you stretch pec minor to free up the scapula from the rib cage. You drop back down, you go under the anterior deltoid, relax the capsule, stretch the capsule, relax the capsule, stretch the capsule, find that acromion and drop that humeral head off the acromion to increase subacromial space, and then let them see how free that shoulder is, and I hope I made the cut.
James is the well-loved personality in our industry. And we're going to review his audition tape. We want you, the listener and viewer, to review and give us your feedback, whether our good friend James Wozlowski should be part of the Ben and Nate.
Review the audition tape and let us know what would be a good question for James to have as a guest on our show. Awesome. So what did we learn today in our little chat?
I think my 2 big takeaways, I love that quote you brought out from Tom Myers. I'm going to steal that. That's a good one. And I liked the conversation about how we can talk to our clients. It's okay to talk to our clients about these things, asking permission. And I think it's also okay with, letting go of that client if that's what it comes down to, and making sure that they get the help that they need based off of their thoughts, feelings, and assumptions about what massage and manual therapy can or cannot do.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I liked that you reminded me it's okay to be me. I don't have to be the guy that has all the black and white answers, and this means this, and therefore we're going to do this. And since I did this test, that means this. And, it's okay to be Ben and approach it that way, because that's what people want at the end of the day. They want to get good body work from you.
That's right. As my good friend Kim says, that's right.
That's right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. And how can people find us out there?
Just go to our Facebook page called Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. Find out the question of the week and interact with us and let us know what you think and submit your own questions. Where else can they listen to us at, Nate?
You can watch us on YouTube if you want to watch our episodes. You can also tune into one of your favorite streaming services such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.